Hi, I'm Joe Walensky, and I'm the principal of Writers UA. We're looking forward to putting on an event in cooperation with Metropolitan State University in Denver, March 28th and 29th. And so I get a chance to talk with the speakers that will be at the event. And today I'm talking with Gavin Austin. How are you doing today, Gavin?
Great, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Where are you talking to us from today?
From beautiful Denver, Colorado.
All right. Well, it's actually a nice day where I'm at in Seattle, so it's good to have you on here. A good place to start is always by checking in and finding out uh, how you got into this game and what types of things you're involved with now.
Yeah, thanks for the question. And in many ways, I envy the Seattle location since it may be a little sunnier than Denver today. I got into technical writing in some ways you could say by accident. Like a lot of people when I was younger, I studied literature and philosophy and religious studies and creative writing and mostly the humanities. But I had a wonderful influence who was an aunt of mine who had been a successful journalist. And she was a journalist who had published articles in National Geographic and magazines such as that, but she kind of fell into technical writing. And what she liked about technical writing was it was this ability to explore concepts of how things work and to make a pretty fine living at it versus being a journalist. And so she kind of convinced me to explore it. And at the university I was at, they had a minor in technical professional writing at that time. And what I loved about it was really an introduction to a lot of software applications. And just to show my age a little bit, it was also about the time that the internet was starting to take off. And so there's a lot of excitement, a lot of new information that one could explore. And I saw it as kind of a skill set where also we were learning grammar, punctuation, things of that nature, and structural information, or how to structuralize information. It seemed to round out my humanities education that I was getting at the time. And that led to me exploring when I went to the Bay Area, since there was the first dot-com boom that was occurring, that allowed me to kind of get my foot in the door because people needed a lot of communicators to explain technical content. And eventually I found myself working at what was then a recent internet IPO company by the name of Salesforce back in 2004. And I had worked as a tech writer at a couple other locations before, but Salesforce was very interesting in that there was so much excitement about the cloud. I think in many ways people attribute Salesforce to creating a bit of this concept of the cloud because our CEO's vision was that people should no longer have to rely on a bunch of big servers and employ a lot of staff to implement software applications, that you should be able to pay a subscription and that our firm would host your applications, help you set them up, and that you wouldn't have to worry about the mechanics on the back end. And of course, the rest is history. And now Salesforce is, I believe, the fourth largest software company in the world. And so I've had a tremendous experience in education watching this tiny company turn into this wonderful behemoth. And it's been a wild ride that I've enjoyed thoroughly. And I don't think I could have gotten such an education anywhere else with a lot of the benefits of being a technical writer in Salesforce.
Well, I've known a lot of people that have worked at Salesforce, and a lot of people have come with technical communication backgrounds. And one of the things that I notice is that, as a company that, is really based itself on web-based applications from the very start, that there's a very progressive contemporary attitude about what it means to provide technical documentation in an organization, just, always looking at ways that kind of meet the latest ideas about the best ways to provide that. I was wondering what your perspectives are, as being part of that organization.
Yeah, thanks for the question. One of the things that I love about Salesforce, and people often are surprised, I've been at one company for more than 14 years, which is so rare these days, especially in technology. And it's because Salesforce has always been evolving and growing in ways by pushing the envelope. And one of the things that I've loved about my content and communications experience team is that there's an advocacy to take some risks. And so some of the risks that we've taken are to change our voice and tone. So quite a few years ago, we had your typical kind of serious enterprise software voice and tone and all of our documentation and content. And then we thought, well, there were some branding changes going on, and we wanted to do a little bit of experimentation. And we thought about, well, what if we use contractions? Oh my, we don't want to use contractions. We found that that's how people talk. Now, what if we could make our content more conversational, which may make it easier for people to understand the concepts that we're writing about, and for them to find the experience of using the application easier? Because as most people know, that if you're reviewing content, it's a reflection of the organization, the brand, as well as perhaps the ease of use of what's being bought by a customer. And so we started with the voice and tone, and then we were pushing the envelope a little bit more by adding some jokes. And some of the jokes didn't work, and we learned how to pull back a little bit, but some of them have. And we've learned that with the minimalism, a little bit of humor, a little bit of punchy icons and graphics that can kind of entertain people on the way and help them learn, that our content is much more engaging. And in fact, we have a term that we like to call fun gauging as our voice and tone now.
Gauging, okay. Well, I'm sure you're always getting involved in new and interesting things, but is there anything in particular that you've been thinking about or working with that kind of has your attention these days?
Well, not only am I gearing up for Writers UA in Denver, Joe, and hanging out with you and everyone else and learning from everybody, but I'm really interested in how people in our profession, specifically technical writers, can utilize their subject matter expertise to be more vocal in their organizations. And a number of us in our field are introverts, and that's understandable. We get paid to write content for a living, but I think where we can really add value, and what Salesforce has given me some time to do lately, is help promote not only the profession of technical writing, but to help executives, to help people on the outside understand that technical writers are also people that have great wisdom in how the technology works. And perhaps technical writers should be out at conferences and interacting with customers and answering questions, because we're learning the complexities of technology. And then as we get paid to make it easy and simple to understand, we can take that as a verbal skill as well and provide it in other venues. So almost seeing the technical writer as an underutilized resource and underutilized channel of communication in a lot of different areas throughout an organization.
Well, I think that's a really important area for people in our discipline to be, make sure that the work that we do is recognized and to broadcast that as well as possible. Your topic that you're going to do at the conference is entitled "Mistakes to Avoid When You Grow Your Content Team." So tell us how you came around to this topic.
Well, I noticed I've had the luxury of being able to go to a number of conferences and learn from people in the field. And I often hear about a lot of smaller organizations trying to grow. And the thing that I thought perhaps I could offer was, I've had this great experience of being the third writer hired at Salesforce and watching this tremendous, talented team grow. And the question is, well, how did it grow? How did it become a successful team with very low attrition and high customer satisfaction ranks in our internal surveys? And a lot of that had to do with some of the decisions that our leaders made as we grew. And I spoke to them about that. I spoke to a number of people. These ideas in this presentation I'm giving are not necessarily all mine. I spoke to a number of VPs that help run our team. And they were in the early days of the company as I was. And I asked them, what are some things that people could learn from us? What are some mistakes that they should avoid? And often organizations don't like to talk about their mistakes. They want to look like they have everything together and everything's great and they can't possibly do any wrong. But I think one of the things about Salesforce has been great is that there's a lot of transparency. And we often put a flashlight on what are some of our mistakes so that we can learn from them. Because if we don't understand where we perhaps have failed, I mean, nobody wants to use that word, but perhaps there's some things we've done that we failed at and learn from them. The positive aspect is learning from those failures, not just berating ourselves for having a mistake, but for what we do with that mistake going forward. And I think my team has remedied a lot of little things along the way that have made us such a successful team. And that's what I'm going to share with the people that are the audience attending Writers UA.
Well, that's going to be great insights for us to hear from you, and we can certainly talk about it at the event. So I want to thank you for taking the time to chat a little bit about your background and what you're up to these days. And we'll see you at the end of the month or at the end of March when we get to the conference.
Right, looking forward to it. Thanks again for the opportunity, Joe.